Welcome back to the best thing you'll watch this week. Over there with the wonderful beard is Chris from Movies and Munchies, and myself here with a bit of a wild beard, Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. Thank you so much if you are joining us on the audio. We're loving building our audience there. It seems to be two different audiences, and we love you equally the same. We're not choosing which child we love more.
We're just going to cut you in half.
Wow, that went dark very quickly, Chris.
All right, and that's the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for that. Wow. Today we've got the big movies to talk about. Obviously, we have Barbie and Oppenheimer. I keep calling it Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer out. We're going to talk about them, obviously. But I should let you know, I didn't last week, that we've started a new anime segment. And I've got lots of stuff to talk about in the anime segment this week.
Over 9,000!
Yes, over 9,000. If you check my channel, I didn't do any reviews on my channel this week.
I saw that.
Because I was watching a lot of anime.
Oh, wow.
So you guys are in for a treat, maybe?
No, I think, you know what? I saw a lot of the comments and people are really enjoying the dive into the anime there. And I find it interesting and intriguing, and I add things to my list. I haven't gotten to
anime.
Yeah, I have to, dive in a little bit there. I mean, I have, Akira. Love Akira. That's, one of my favorites.
That's kind of a gateway drug. That's kind of where people start. And then, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
You need to move on from that, though, Chris.
Well, yeah.
All right, now that we've beaten up Chris
sorry,
about not watching anime, let us know in the comments below what anime films or TV series that you think Chris should watch. Don't forget, our Patreon is growing each week, and this week another Patreon has asked us to review a series, which you can do if you're on a particular tier. And so this one will be available when you're listening to this. It should be available. We're going to be reviewing what, Chris?
Good Omens Season 1, which Season 2 is coming out very shortly.
Really soon. Yeah, it's like the next couple of weeks, I think. And so we're looking forward to talking about that. I've actually just recently rewatched that, so it's really good timing.
And I just watched it for the first time.
Oh, yeah, wow. Okay, cool.
I had watched part of it when it came out and then fell off. And so I binged the whole thing.
Okay, cool. I'm excited to talk about that. I could talk about David Tennant all day long. So that'll be the latest update, but like one of 60 videos. And it just starts at £1. So if you want to help us out, we really do appreciate it. We've got some great Patreons there at the moment, just kind of always giving us ideas or even jumping on with us, which is great because we've had Fro now twice and he's kind of given us really interesting topics to talk about. Sometimes our opinions differ and Chris is wrong, but
that happens.
That does happen. But last week, Chris continued to give us a movie quiz, the 3 quotes, and I thought I knew one of them, and when I listened back, I didn't guess any of them. So I think you're also getting harder again, Chris.
Oh, well... If you thought last week was hard, this week's going to suck for you, I think.
Good Lord.
But,
okay.
But let's see. Chris Retzlaff, Tara Briscoe, and Andre KP got all 3 on the same day. So congratulations. Huge shout out to you there. The answers were Dude, Where's My Car? Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
This is why I need to watch that film again. But yeah.
Okay. It's been a long time since I've seen that one. And then Half Baked, which that also is another one that I need to rewatch again. It's been a long time.
I don't even know if I've seen that. Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's great. It has moments in there though. So the theme, stoner, something like that.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I haven't been fired yet. Almost.
Okay.
So here we go for this week. Now there is a theme to it again. So that might help you. But again, these are probably at least one of them, I think, is going to be fairly difficult because it is an obscure movie. Okay. Number 1. Got to start over. 4 stores and many Christmases ago, my father brought forth a factory conceived in innocence and joy and squeezable fun for everyone.
I think I know this one. Wow.
Really?
Right off the bat. Yeah.
Okay. Number 2. Well, we walk up to someone and say, "Are you the enemy?" And if they say yes, we shoot them.
Okay.
Okay. Number 3, you and I share a secret. We know how easy it is to kill someone. That ultimate taboo. It doesn't exist outside our own minds. It's been a really long time since I've seen this last one. Actually, all 3 of them. It's been a really long time. And so getting the quotes made me want to rewatch them because... Yeah.
Well, that's one good thing about the quotes.
Right? It spurs up these yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, that was good.
Exactly, yeah. So let us know in the comments below. We'll give you a shout out next week. You can comment on Ruben's channel or my channel. We look at both of them and we judge accordingly. And, if you can, maybe leave a couple spaces so that it's hidden a little bit so that everybody else has a great chance at guessing as well. Ruben's got a little bit of a chesty thing, what did you call it? A lurgy? You've got the lurgies.
I got the lurgies.
I learned a new word. But do you have, so also the whole point of me saying that, not only because you were coughing, but because you're drinking a hot toddy, which depending on how much whiskey you put into that will determine the amount of fun we have.
Well, my wife waited for me and I'm disappointed at the amount of whiskey. They could have been more.
Oh, okay. Well, you can get a refill, because you'll probably need another one.
Yes, I agree.
But do you have a question for us, Ruben?
Yes. It actually goes in nicely with what we're going to be talking about. There's Barbenheimer week. Barbie, Oppenheimer. When we were talking at View Cinema Eastleigh, by the way, if you're in Portsmouth, View Cinema Eastleigh, they've revamped their cinema and they've got all the electric chairs now. And my cinema is all like old and like feels like you're going to an old theater. So it was nice to go there. But a staff member said that mostly all the tickets that have been booked 2 at a time, that people are going to watch Oppenheimer and Barbie. That's the thing. The Barbenheimer thing worked as a ploy to get people back into cinemas and watch both. You should be watching both. And I did a poll on Twitter asking people which one should you watch first, and almost everybody said watch Oppenheimer first and then watch Barbie. So it got me thinking today. I went and watched both, and it was a slog. It was good, but it's more than. Oppenheimer's 3 hours long, and then you're talking about trailers and ads, which is like 30 to 40 minutes. Barbie is 2 hours, and then you're talking about so you're talking about 6 hours at least. What is the most amount of times in one day that you've been to a cinema, and also what is the most amount of times you've seen one film, the same film, at the cinema?
Ooh. My wife and I did a couple years ago for her birthday. We did a double feature. I think we were maybe even planning on doing a triple feature. And unfortunately, the second movie just kind of sucked the life out of us because it was Cowboys versus Aliens.
Oh no, you didn't like it.
And just not very much. I mean, it was okay in little spots, but it was like more of a bummer. And I don't remember the first movie that we watched.
Right.
But when I was I went and saw, what?
When you were a young warthog?
When I was a young warthog. No. So as a kid, Big and The Karate Kid were 2 movies that I saw like a ton in the theater.
Oh, really? Like you went back and watched them
multiple times.
Wow.
In more recent times, I mean, I was an adult, I had children at this point. I saw Avatar in IMAX 3D 5 times, 6 times maybe.
Okay.
And I never paid for it because I was working in radio and I got free passes to it. So I went to the premiere of it. And then I saw it again, and then I took my wife, and then I took my boys, and I think
this wasn't The Way of Water. This was the first. No.
I've only seen that one once. No, the first one. And then when it was reissued, like a year later or something like that, or 6 months later,
I went back to cinema.
Yeah, went back, and we went back again. And so that's the one I think that is probably, at least in recent times, that I've seen the most. And that's a lengthy film.
6 times is impressive. Because I know of people that watched the Titanic like 11 times. So I mean, something
oh my gosh,
crazy.
Really?
Yeah. I saw it once. That was enough for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how about you? What's
The Matrix? I watched that 4 times at the cinema when it first came out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was blown away by that. It's not unusual, well, when I was a kid to watch 2 movies because we went to the driving a lot and there was always like a double feature. So normally what would happen would be parents go and watch something that they can watch together as a family, and then the kids will fall asleep for the second film, and then obviously naughty kids like me would pop up and watch the second film that is more age restricted, like Aliens or something. So yeah, 2. I'm trying to think if I've always wanted to watch all 3 of the Lord of the Rings at the cinema, like back to back, but I haven't had the opportunity.
And the only true edition, right? The extended edition.
There's only one edition.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, that's like what, 14 and a half hours?
Yeah.
I'm so there. Let's see if we can do that. Maybe, you know what? You can rent out theaters sometimes. Maybe we should do that.
We should do that.
And make it worth it.
We should invite like fans, like people that live near us, and they can come and watch. Do a day of Lord of the Rings.
Yes, that would be outstanding.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. All right, we'll try and put that into action. So let us know in the comments below, have you ever managed to go to the cinema more than twice in one day? And how much is the most amount of times that you watch at the cinema a particular film? Can you beat 11 times with Titanic? Because that's insane.
That is insane. I can't do that.
But talking about Barbenheimer.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about them?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
These are both on my list for this week.
Okay, cool. So which one would you like to talk about first?
Let's start with Oppenheimer.
Okay. Cool.
I got to see it. I was lucky enough to see it in actual 70 millimeter IMAX.
One of the few prints that are nice. Okay.
Yeah. There's not a lot of them these theaters left in the world.
And they're so heavy and 11 kilometers long.
So that was an experience. And normally with screenings, there are no trailers, but even the people are putting out warnings, or at least advisories, PSA type of things, because you're so used to showing up and there being 30 minutes of trailers, right? That you can show up 5-10 minutes late and you'd be okay. Well, if you're seeing it in 70 millimeter IMAX,
because the reel goes on and then it plays. You can't change that. Yeah.
So if you show up late, you've missed part of the movie.
So talk to me about the aspect ratio.
Okay, so ours is a five story screen, and it's fairly square. Parts of the presentation were widescreen, so there is black bars on the top and the bottom.
Right.
And then when it would go into those full IMAX sequences, it was literally the entire screen.
Nice.
So you had top to bottom. I mean, we would look down. I just beat once or twice because I wanted to see how far it actually reached. And it was encompassing the entire screen. Wow. So like when you would see like the particles or some of the landscapes, the explosion, all of these things, it was full screen. When we would, even some of the tight shots on Oppenheimer's face would be full screen. Then there were other parts as some of the dialogue and everything is moving around, it's more widescreen. Now, widescreen, it was still monster size and you get to, you see a ton. But how about you? Because you did not see it in 70 millimeter.
It was an IMAX, so it can't have been 70 mils. Because I think, is it only the IMAXs that have the 70 mil?
No, I think they might do. I think they might have some 70 millimeter prints.
I'm trying to think, because it was a big screen and it was fully wide, like it with the whole screen on it, and I think there might be bars. I don't know. I'll check with John, who I went with. Oh my gosh, where do I start with this movie? Okay, so I'm going to get the negatives out the way because I have a bunch of negatives, but obviously you have positives. Okay, so this is Christopher Nolan's JFK. It's Christopher Nolan's Scorsese film. If you don't go in with that understanding, you're going to be disappointed with this movie. You got to go in with the knowledge that it is like a magnum opus to his wanting to do a biopic. And they're not selling it like that. They're selling it like this big epic story with like atomic explosions. Atomic explosion is about the thing that many people created. It's one bit in the middle of the film, and either side of that is the story that is told about interviews. It's probably the most dialogue-heavy film I've ever heard, like, especially from Nolan, like, massively.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he normally tells a story much more visually, and he does with this, but with the actors talking loads. I do think it was a bit pretentious. I think it was too long, 3 hours. There was way too much dialogue. I think it took too long to get into it, too long to establish the story that they were going on. It was cutting back and forth, and understand they're using black and white to differentiate the timeline of, okay, this is color, this is when we're building the big, massive distraction, but then this is when people are blaming Oppenheimer and the interviews around that.
Yep.
So I get the timeline of it. It just felt like it took too long to get to the point. I saw literally 20 people clock watch. Like they took out their phones. So a number of people get up and go to the toilet many times. I mean, that's not a 3 hour long film. I saw one very young person fall asleep. I think the way this film is sold is going to make people upset, because they're thinking Christopher Nolan, they're thinking Tenet, they're thinking Interstellar, they're thinking Inception, and then they come into this and it's like, well, this is not about bombs. This is not about this is not about anything. Like, he's done 3 different kind of time things. This is so weird for Christopher Nolan. Okay, so very long. I clock watched loads, and I thought he could have got easily like this. I felt like, because he's Christopher Nolan, I can do IMAX. I don't think it needed to be IMAX. There were very few shots I went, you could watch this at home. John and I looked at each other at the end of the film and said, that would have been an amazing 6-hour HBO TV series. It would have been much more attainable. People could have done it in bite-sized chunks, kind of get to grips with it more, got up and got a cup of tea, gone to the toilet. There's one shot of the build-up, and that was beautifully done. And sometimes Christopher Nolan showed ways of seeing the fragile mind or the intricacies of the mind of Oppenheimer. And I like that. I like the creativity of that. And I think seeing that on the big screen worked quite well. But there were very few shots that needed to be big on the cinema screen. So I was trying to, while I was watching it, I was like, yeah, so there's this whole big argument. Gotta be on 70 mils. Gotta be, with film reel. Gotta be. And my wife goes to me, wait, they exploded they actually made a bomb? Because it's like, yeah, they did. She says, well, what about if you used it digitally with the special effects you had these days? It would have looked just as fine. But what about like everything that you're doing to the atmosphere? Like the amount of pollution you put into the atmosphere for your film for that one bomb, which was massive, to be fair. I was like, yeah, I guess it's a good point. Okay, so that's all the moaning out the way. The best thing about this film is I think that students of acting can take this film and dissect it with every single actor. Like, I mean every single actor. And go, they were given this amount of dialogue and then they made the character their own. There's literally no one in this film that I went, well, that was okay. Everyone was like, well, that was great. Like, their performances were amazing. There are some actors that have so few lines, or it just isn't on screen a lot, that we're eating up the scenery. Matt Damon, I haven't seen him this good in a long time. Every time, he's like, I believe him as the general. Like, 1000% believe him in that role. Some other, I'm not going to mention a couple of them because there was a surprise to me. I didn't know they were in the film.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
so many people in this film.
Every time someone else jumped on, is that Rami Malek? I didn't know he was in this. Literally every single... I don't know that we needed the long, extended Florence Pugh naked shots. Like, I was trying to think of the aesthetic that they were creating. There was one time, which I thought was very creative, where they were showing the mindset again with Oppenheimer. And I thought that was very clever. But the other time, I didn't know what they were doing, what they were saying with it. I'd have to watch it again, because I understood it, but I didn't know that it needed to be there for that long.
I think it was just showing an intimacy, a vulnerability.
The vulnerability I get
on both of them. You know what I mean? Because they're both there and they're having a discussion, and their interactions were always a little off kilter anyway. You know, that they were not traditional in any way.
Emily Blunt, she has a scene stealing moment. There's a conversation she has. There's a, why won't you fight? She keeps saying to her husband. There's a moment where she does. And man, I wanted to stand up and go,
mic drop right there.
Like,
yeah.
Dude, there are moments scattered throughout this film of conversations like that that are just powerful. Even ones that are nasty, but are powerful. So I think the script is excellent. The dialogue is amazing. And everybody that's been cast is excellent. I personally don't know that I'll ever watch it again. So,
oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
It's for me, it's the most unattainable. I don't know. Maybe in a couple of years, maybe with family, I'll be interested to see like their reaction, their take on it. Because
Sure.
I do think it's excellent. Like it's really split me because I was like, wow, performances are amazing, but also when are you going to get to the point? Like, how long are you going to drag the court case out? The story. How much of there were parts that I was interested in. I was like, oh, I never knew he had this much interaction with this person from history, and I was like, that's excellent. I could have done more with that. There are moments when you see Kenneth Branagh. I was like, man, I want to see bits more of that, but I could do without more of this character. Lots was Robert Downey Jr., which I thought was excellent, but I didn't know that we needed all of that. So
I think like, okay, so I didn't notice the time, like I wasn't clock watching, but when we like after the climax kind of the film, and then we have like an hour left as it transitions more into that courtroom type.
It's more than an hour. Yeah.
Feel. Okay. So it like I noticed that there was still a lot left because it felt like the movie was wrapping up.
Yeah, that feels like a natural ending.
Like, yeah, exactly. So for that part of it, you know, I did notice that. For me, and I've seen mixed, so I think it has to do probably with some of the theaters or whatever, but in my showing, and I've seen a couple other people that had some issues with the sound. Not nearly to the degree of Tenet. I mean, like I could understand the majority, but there were a couple of times where a character is delivering something that seems very key, and I was struggling. Like I'm like,
was it? Oh, so yours was too soft.
No. The music and the dialogue were competing.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't hear it because the sound was, I mean, it was earth shattering.
Yeah.
So it was not
there's
loud.
some parts in ours where it was loud, but it was so loud it was almost distorting, like it was like a blur, like against like, and I was just like, why? And it's becoming a pattern. Like Tenet's, it wasn't the first time. The mixing seems to be like he goes into the editing room with them and goes, now crank it all the way to 11. It's like, we don't have 11, make an 11. You know,
breaks off the knob.
So even in Batman, there were times where it was really loud, but they somehow managed to find the balance with most of that. I think there were peaks in that where I was like, I don't know, but it, you know, Hans, you know, and it keeps building and building. Tenet, Interstellar, they're all like that, but Tenet was the one that I was just like, what the, put on subtitles, I still don't understand what the hell they're talking about. Here in parts as well.
Yeah, there were small parts there. Okay, so I was like you, Emily Blunt's, her moment. Whoa, just, I mean, yeah.
So
just,
much.
Absolutely. For me, Robert Downey Jr., like first off, I did not realize his level of involvement in the movie. Like he is a key driver of a lot of the narrative.
He's a big character, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was blown away from it. There was by him, not from him. There were a couple of moments where I saw, like, I was trying to separate Iron Man. You know what I mean? I was trying to separate Tony Stark because that's what we've seen him in for so long. But he really, I mean, it was just like, whoa, you're in this character and I'm loving it. And I don't know if I really like you. I don't like you at all.
Yeah, there's a few moments there where you struggle with it. but you're my hero, and this character, I don't know how I feel about you in this role. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I was so engaged with Cillian Murphy. I mean, the amount of emotiveness that he brought to his facial expressions, his eyes, that it conveyed so much. And I loved that Christopher Nolan sat on him for a little bit, would have that patience to be, you know what I mean? Like, we're just going to sit here and look at you. It might be a little uncomfortable, but it allows us to really connect with him. And I was digging that. And I liked too that this didn't become a yay, Oppenheimer good because he creates bombs.
No, they really show the ins and outs of his life, don't they?
Yeah, well, and all
Good
of
and
that
bad.
conflict that he has, and that moral dilemma, and then also balancing, you know, well, they're going to build it, so we're trying to, we're trying to save lives by building this thing, and then wait, you're dropping it, you know, and they're going to make it bigger if we provide it to them. The whole, just that part of it was riveting to me because it adds that complexity to his character and really makes him more deep, because now he can be a villain because of his actions, but he can also be a hero because of his actions, or because of his mindsets and his conflict with his actions. You know, that I was yeah. It was funny because I was like sitting there, I didn't have any expectations for it. I had seen half a trailer maybe. And so I didn't really, I didn't know much about it. I loved it's funny because the sound, the mix was off at points. And so it was hard to hear dialogue, but then the use of silence was deafening, really, when they detonate the bomb, and that segment of the movie, because you think it's all building up to that, and it kind of is, but it's so much more than just a bomb. It's the movie's so much more about, or so much more than
Oppenheimer. It's not the bomb. Yeah.
It's exactly. Yeah. And so it's really focused on him, because we see so much of his reaction before the bomb goes off and as the bomb is going off, in conjunction with seeing the actual, the fire and everything else. The music was just, I loved it. Like so many of Nolan's films, it subliminally gets into my soul and then starts affecting my emotions, like any good score is supposed to do, and it like, even if we're just sitting there watching somebody, I'm feeling so tense and anxiety because is it going to work? Well, yeah, it's going to work. We know the story, a little bit because they make the bomb, but I had said in my review, I loved the inclusion of some of those natural sounds. Like there's a little bit of a Geiger counter interspersed within the music as that kind of that reminder, like he uses a clock ticking, not a talk clicking, clock ticking in both Inception and Interstellar, I think. And so just these little things that aren't prominent within the sound, but they're present. And so nice. This was not one that I was like, oh yes, okay, I'm ready to go right back in and watch it again. I would probably rewatch it more than you. But it's not one also that you would put on kind of casually. This is one that I need to sit and just, direct my attention and my focus to this. Because others of his movies, especially when you've seen them a bunch, and they're more action oriented, you can be more of that casual watch because it's carrying it. And there's not as much dialogue. So,
yeah. Nice.
Okay.
All right. So we talk about Barbie.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Come on, Barbie, let's go potty. Is that what I said?
I don't know. You're welcome to go potty if you need it.
No, I don't need to. I've already gone right here. Just wearing my astronaut underpants.
Nice. Okay. A lot of pink in this film.
There was a lot. But remember, we talked about how there was an international pink paint shortage because of the production. Easy to see why.
Another Greta Gerwig film.
Mm-hmm. Are you a fan of Greta Gerwig?
Not really.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, I don't mind them, but they're not like films that are like, oh, she's done a film, let's go watch that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
I like Ladybug. Well, that was good.
Ladybird?
Ladybird? Bug? Bird? Yes, a sequel.
Yeah, that was shot in my hometown.
Oh, Ladybird, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was. I think it's more because I really like Saoirse Ronan. Saoirse. Yeah. Her name is spelled not like you say it.
No, like most Irish names, right?
Yeah. Saoirse Ronan. I think she's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you're going to watch Barbie, you should know it's a Greta Gerwig film. You could think it's a comedy. It's a comedy in the sense that it's an adult film. It has a message. It definitely has a message, and she tells it well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she beats around the bush with the message. It's social satire when it's done very well that way. I think everybody, our main protagonists, are lesser than protagonists, do their job very well. Mm-hmm. I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed this film. Because I went in thinking this could be what I think it's going to be, and it was, and yet I really enjoyed it. I think it took a little bit of its time to get into the film, but when it does, like there was some that were introducing it, I just didn't think that the whole kind of Space Odyssey beginning kind of worked for me. If you've seen the film, you know what I mean. And then they introduced the whole Barbie world, and I think it took a bit long. It felt like they're spoon feeding us, like this is what the Barbie world is, and maybe people need that. Now, I've never had any Barbies of my own, and I got it fine. I know what Barbie is. Yeah,
sure.
One little just pops into my head. This is like ADHD. When they're introducing all the girls playing with the Barbies.
Yes.
I never saw any boys playing with the Barbies. And I know lots of young boys, when they're kids, were playing with Barbies. And I was like, come on, if you're going to go down this route of like being inclusive and everything, you could have had a couple of guys playing Barbies. Anyway, so once it gets in, our two main protagonists, for one, she looks so like Barbie. I mean, she is Barbie. There's a line where... I don't think I've laughed so hard.
When it breaks the fourth wall?
When it breaks the fourth wall.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And I was like, exactly. You can't say that and have the audience believe this moment. And they just go for it. And I thought, that's so brave at that moment to do that. It's like, you know what? There's a narrator that kind of guides us through Barbie having to go to the real world. Ken goes with her because he wants to beach. If there's a beach, he can protect her and... beach any guys off if they attack her. There's a lot of funny haha jokes, and there's also a lot of funny jokes that are going to catch you off guard. That it's funny going, oh, you really poked the bear in that one, and it's brilliant. Like I love the fact that they go for it. And then there's a real emotional tie to some of the themes that are so real. There's a moment for Ken and for Barbie that I just thought were such great moments of really having something to say, but they've built up to it. We've earned it as the audience, so when you get there, you really care. The two worlds clashing almost, I think, is excellent, and having those worlds reflect each other, I think it's a massive part of the theme. Like, you get what she's trying to say. She beats you over the head a little bit with it sometimes, but then it's the other message that she's trying to say will sometimes be subtler, and then you're like, oh, right, that's cool. I like what you did with that. What is her name?
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie is excellent, but there were moments where Ken, he just stole it from me. There were moments I was just like, I don't even know if I love your movies. Like, I'm not a huge fan of La La Land. I think one of my favorite films of you is Drive, But this movie for me is my favorite with him in it. Like, I just like he nailed moments in this that I mean, it was great in all of it, but the poses, the stances, and then the realization of his character of being a man on a horse. And there was just so many great moments from him that just he must have loved doing it. And also the singing and dancing moments I loved. I thought they were great, really well done, catchy song. I want to learn the Ken song. So good.
I want the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like
Anyway, I've talked enough about what did you think?
Okay, so like you, I was totally shocked at how much I enjoyed this. Like I went in thinking, oh, it's going to be cute. I hope it's going to be funny. I know there's going to be a social commentary in there, but I'm curious at how they're going to address that.
Yeah.
The biting commentary that they have in it is spectacular.
It's really funny. The commentary.
It is.
Yeah.
So well delivered. And I love, though, that like I'm seeing all of these comments come in and I'm seeing them online, you know, and it's all the pro bro and the misogynistic ones and the, oh my gosh, you women bad. And this movie is all talking about how men are bad and women are the only good ones and everything else. And Ruben's got a burger there.
Yeah, my wife just gave me food.
Nice. But it's the thing that I keep saying is, have you seen the movie? Because it's obvious you have not. Because yes, there is a pro-feminism, pro-woman message within this. And then there's a pro-man. And then there's a pro-you. You know what I mean? It's self-acceptance,
also,
self-worth,
it's
self-value.
okay to have a pro-woman film.
Right?
Why is that bad?
And let me tell you.
It's been unbalanced for years.
Oh my gosh, so many movies have been women bad, women held down, that if you can't handle a female-driven movie with a female protagonist who is strong and smart and it also attacks some of your sensibilities, then you're way too fragile. America Ferrera, she better get nominated for Best Supporting Actress because there is a moment, she is the mom.
Right, yeah.
There is a moment where so many people in the audience were crying and not...
But laughing, crying.
No, crying because of the truth that was being delivered in that.
Oh, right, yeah, she was doing this speech. She was incredible.
Oh my gosh, it was... Yeah, and there's so many of these things, you know, lines here that are speaking to everybody, really. But I mean, especially there's a segment for girls. And I mean, there's stories all over the place where, you know, it's the whole body shaming. It's the, you know, you have to be good enough, but not too good because then you're this way. And, you know, the whole just the crazy making that it can become trying to keep up with other people's expectations. And we see that play out also with Ryan Gosling. Yeah. So it applies to the males as well. So this isn't just oh gosh. The aesthetics of the film I thought were brilliant. Because when we're in Barbie land, it is clearly fake. And it is so great that they embrace that.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
They really embrace the fantasy world of Barbie. And I didn't expect them to do that. Like drinking, sleeping, living, clothes changing.
And they use that then, how they set up with us experiencing Barbie land.
Yeah.
And then when we're taken to the real world, some of those things carry over and become jokes.
Oh, so they've planned it and it comes back. Oh.
I was you're laughing and then it becomes there are some really touching moments in this too that I was blown away. There's a scene with Margot Robbie sitting at a bench at a bus stop, on a bench. Yeah. And there's an old woman next to her, and she just has a very small interaction. And again, like in Oppenheimer, Greta Gerwig sat on Margot Robbie and let her internalize.
It's one of the most powerful moments, actually, of the film. Yeah.
Right? This very
simple scene.
Yeah, brief interaction, and yet it spoke so much. And you watch within Margot Robbie this change happen. And this internal dialogue begin to morph and, you know, discovering of self. I thought, oops, I hit my microphone there. I mean, I thought it was brilliant. I agree with you that it was a little lost at the beginning. I was actually very disappointed that the teaser trailer was the intro of the movie.
Right.
Like, normally when you see a trailer, it's just like cut up things or whatever. Or if they do something like they did with the teaser trailer of this, that's not even part of the movie.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, oh, well, I've already seen this. So this is very an anticlimactic beginning to the movie. I liked being brought in by the narrator because what it did is, for me, it established all of that. I
was thinking, I know there's the big rule of show, don't tell, but how on earth do you establish the rules?
Right.
In a fantasy Barbie land? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I like that because then it also allowed for that fourth wall breaking at, later.
It's a mechanic that they've used that is on purpose in the story. It's not just there for the sake of it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, so if you grew up playing with Barbies or especially if you have like daughters or something that have played with Barbies, you played with Barbies, whatever that is, or you have sons that have played with Barbies or you've played with Barbies. I mean, it doesn't really matter there. You're already maybe in a different mindset because this is how you view the world, or you have interacted with the world. For me, I mean, like when I had G.I. Joes, the biggest thing I did was blow them up with firecrackers. Right. So, so there wasn't a lot of
You were Sid?
camaraderie.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Sid
I was Sid. Yes, I was Sid. Yeah, totally. I didn't put them back together because I couldn't find them. Because you could pull the G.I. Joes apart,
right.
And there was a little rubber band. Yeah. And it would, because it was a circular rubber band, you could stick a firecracker right in between and then it would clamp back down. And so then you could poor G.I. Joe. I used to find those like when we would go over when my kids were little. I was still finding torsos in my mom's backyard from 20 years before. Anyway, total tangent there. The music in this, I thought was phenomenal. The soundtrack was great. The dance moves, the dance numbers, really. I love that they call it out. So all of these things that you would look at normally and go kind of like, that felt shoehorned in, or that felt really just like out of the blue. Here, it's completely on purpose, and we're brought into that purposefulness.
You really need to listen to the words of the singing, because my goodness, I was cracking up.
Dude, I didn't realize Ryan Gosling also had such a great singing voice. Like, right? I was into his song, and even when he's singing,
that good looking and sing well,
right? It's unfair. I mean, he was ripped too.
Apparently, I saw an interview, and that's all him. There's no CG. That's him. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I think they did when he's at beach. I think there's a little bit of makeup there
color,
to add, which I think is even more funny because it adds
kind of look.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you notice too that when like at the beginning when we're meeting Barbie and Barbie and Barbie and Barbie and all the world, and all Barbie. The homes and everything else.
Yeah. Hi, Barbie.
They were plastic also. Like their expressions would barely change. They were very stiff. They would wave. It was all these deliberate movements. And it's just these subtle things that made it even better. As they're standing there holding a surfboard or something, Ken, I'm Ken, hey, Ken.
Hey, Ken.
There's
a moment where Margot rolls on the floor. Like
dude,
she's a Barbie, which she is. And the stiffness of her, brilliant. Do you need to get that?
I needed to mute just for a second because Buddy the Brave was going nuts there because somebody rang the doorbell there. Okay. No, you're right. I was dying when she did that because it was just like you saw a doll doing that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
it's perfect. Before we go off Barbie, I want to talk about one other character. So I told you who stole the film from me, but I didn't tell you who my favorite character is. Can we talk about Alan?
Dude.
Oh my gosh, I love these characters so much.
There's a line that he gives that was so funny, and it's about building a wall.
It's
dude, I didn't see it coming. No. And when he says it, like I chortled out loud because it was so on point, and
it's so good. He's such a great actor.
Dude,
I need more of him, please.
and I love his arc because he's so background and so like barely there. Same with Weird Barbie. I mean, come on.
Weird Barbie's great. She's such a phenomenal actress and great comedic timing. Like, she was great. Yeah.
And the commentary that she brings also to it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, she's used as a punchline, but then also gets to deliver so much truth. And you're like,
yeah,
nice.
Very true. All right, so that's Barbenheimer out the way.
Cool.
What would you like to talk about next?
No, I'm done. No, kidding. Okay, I'm gonna, briefly, because I think the embargo has lifted, but the movie doesn't come out for like another week, and so I haven't even done my review. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this. It's a new A24 horror movie called Talk to Me.
And I've heard so much about this. I really want to watch it. Yeah,
dude, it debuted at Sundance. I'll do kind of like you. Let me get some of the negatives out of the way.
Okay, cool.
While the movie is tense, it does not know how to maintain that intensity throughout the film. And so we have dips, which also, and I want to be clear, dips in an intense movie that are intentional are fine, right? That it allows you to relax a second before it brings you right back into it. The issue with this is that it because it can't maintain the momentum, when it loses it, it takes quite a while to actually get back up into that tenseness again. And so I felt like I was in it and then out, and then in it and out. And then what happens is it, like my wife used a great word, she said normalized. Like, and so that tension kind of just peters out. And so I don't really feel as much as I should because of what the story is.
This film was terrifying.
I wasn't. I mean, there's elements of it. Now, the more I've thought about it, the more I like the movie. Because when I walked out of it, I was like,
So it grew on you. That's interesting.
Yeah, it has. And I think that's also because of just talking with my wife and my oldest son who went with us to see it. Just different viewpoints on it, which I think are great, because I think you're going to interpret it in different ways.
It gets you out of your head. You hear other people's opinions. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can bounce that off of. And so I would argue back a point, and they're like, well, I saw it this way, and this is why I think it's this, and this is why I back it up with this, and then there's a differing opinion. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I can kind of see that. And well, so if you can see it that way, then probably others are also going to see it that way.
Yeah.
The premise. Okay. So anybody that doesn't know, it's like a possession type movie, where instead of using a Ouija board or a seance, they have this hand, and you grab the hand, you say, talk to me, and then a spirit appears in front of you. And then you have to say, I let you in, and they embody you.
Don't do that. Ever.
They set up rules. They establish rules for what happens and what you do and can't do and all of this stuff. So it's great. It's explained. It makes sense. I love that it's set as a party game. Okay, so this is when we see these kids. They're exactly, just like on crack, and goes even more of the wrong way. We see these teenagers who are, it's a joke, right? It's something fun. And the way that the way that the filming works too is you become frenetic and just quick paced and quick cuts, but not in quick cuts where you don't see what's going on or it's trying to hide like actions, because it's not actions. It's really putting us into the mindset of all these characters in this contained area and the frenzy that's going on as they're having fun. And
so is the cast young, like say in the Blackening?
Younger than that. These are probably like 16 in the story. They're like 15 to 20 age.
Is it comedy horror, or is it just horror?
No, it's horror.
Straight out horror. Okay.
Yeah, straight up horror thriller. The opening scene, like, sometimes at the beginning of the film, you're kind of, situating yourself, getting your drink set or whatever. Do not take your eyes off the screen, because.
But I watch horrors like.
But don't move because there is an intense build up at the beginning. I love how they just set up the feeling for the movie. And there are some actions, but they're very, very brief.
Interesting.
And like I verbally expressed something as it happened, because it was wonderful. Like the setup is really wonderful. I love the creativity and the originality of this story. Like I can't think of any other story that has done it in this way and created it as a game.
What's this called again?
And Talk to Me. It's 90 minutes, 94 minutes, something like that. I did feel a little bit of the time because of that momentum that I was talking about, that it would establish a lot of anxiety and stress and then kind of back away. The visuals, I think all of them are practical. So good. So just beautiful in the makeup that they use. It is an unsettling premise. And depending on how you interpret some of the messaging within there, it could be very, very, very bothersome and very disturbing. And so I think that's like, I appreciated that. And like I said, because the more I've thought about it, the more I've enjoyed the movie.
I just found out who the directors are.
The Raka Raka guys? I don't even know who they were.
Yeah, no, okay. they do these short films on YouTube, and they were amazing. So much fun. Well, that's their first debut feature film.
Directorial debut as a feature film. Yeah, they were on as crew in The Babadook.
Oh,
and this is also an Australian film, so it takes place there. There was a negative. It was kind of like Oppenheimer. The dialogue was a little hard to hear sometimes. It was not brought forward in the mix as much as it probably could have been. And then you combine with the Australian accents that and these kids who are they're not over enunciating anything. You know what I mean? They're speaking quickly. And so some of it was it was a little hard to hear or to understand what all they were saying. I mean, you can get the gist of what's going on, but I think if you're missing key areas, that is a bummer, because it adds, the dialogue helps to reinforce the visuals that we're seeing.
Okay, yeah.
I think you'll like it. I think it might freak you out a little bit, but I think you're gonna. Babadook, so. Oh, dude, the Babadook is, and when I say, this is not on the level of the Babadook. Okay, yeah, no, not at all. That's the only movie that has ever disturbed my soul. I can't. Oof. I love it. It's a great movie. But yeah. Anyway,
nice.
Okay, so what's next on your list? Or what's on your list?
I actually have a video game that's next on my list. Yeah. So I was playing Diablo. I finished that. Decided I didn't want to play the next bit of the game, which is like grindy. You play it again and they have dungeons, and I was like, okay, I've done the story. I'm done for now on that, which is fine. So I finally moved to Final Fantasy XVI.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at the game. I'm just laughing that it's 16.
Yeah, they've been going for flipping ages, and where they are now compared to where they were like with 4, 5, and 6. 7, which is like 7 and 8, which is regarded as like some of the best Final Fantasy games ever. We're no longer in turn-based. It's all kind of hack and slash, but with like skills and upgrading and all that. The interesting thing about this new game, they've departed again from what 15 was. There's no cars in this one. It's the best way I heard it described was game of chocobo. I don't know if you know what chocobos are. That is a yellow. It's a yellow big bird that is like part of the lore that you can ride on.
How do you spell that?
Yes. You spell it Chocobos. BOS or Chocobo,
like CHALK,
CHOCOBO,
Chocobo,
Chocobo, and then you should be able to see the yellow.
Oh,
The Chocobo
yeah.
Final Fantasy. Yeah.
Okay. It looks it looks a little bit like a phoenix, right?
Yeah, Phoenix Bird. Yeah, anyway, Game of Chocobo. So this is set like it's in the Game of Thrones world.
Okay.
It's all medieval. It's all about families trying to defeat each other with their whatever powers they have. This is gods fighting each other, monsters fighting each other. So all that lore that you had in Game of Thrones. If you're missing Game of Thrones and you need to fulfill that missing part, and you were upset by season 8, this will fulfill that need, especially as the graphics are ridiculous. There's a lot of cutscenes because there's a lot of story, and they hold your hand a bit as to these are the new kind of way you got to play the game. They're showing you where you go to your base and upgrade how you do the missions now, where you use the map, that kind of thing. But man, like literally the way they start the game is you're a massive dragon fighting another massive dragon. Like it starts off in god mode. I think about that bit with Gandalf falling down fighting the Balrog. You're literally in that moment. That's where you start the game.
Oh,
really.
wow.
Yeah, it's big like that. And all of the big boss fights are like epic like that, and the score goes along with it. It is one of the first, if not the first, Final Fantasy games where I can kind of understand the storyline. Because Final Fantasy storylines are normally so bonkers and out there. Everybody's like, what was that about? Some person's after that person and they didn't like you, so now they're killing you. Is like the basis of it. That's about what I got out of what, my 100-hour gameplay was about. It looks phenomenal. The score is incredible. The storyline is epic. And it's not really open world. It's linear, I would say. They drive you to go certain places and gives the illusion sometimes that there's more open space than there is. But you don't mind because the story is always driving forward. You're always getting big cutscenes that look, as close as you can get to real life these days. The graphics are crazy. I think a lot of people were worried about this game. They looked at it and thought, that's such a departure from the other ones. Should I be should I be playing this? And I was one of those. But all it takes is watch some gameplay and actually try it out for yourself, because it's incredible. I was like, wow, this is really fun. You play Clive, who is an outcast, really. He's meant to look after his brother, who is got like this godlike power in him, but things go wrong and you end up like a slave for another army, and then things go wrong again. You end up on like a bandits team, basically, and your bandits team, you've got your own reasons for joining them, but you're trying to save the world while people fight each other with big gods. Titans, phoenixes, there's just so many. There's Shiva, Odin, Bahamut, Ifrit, all of those big gods. If you look those up, it's crazy. I can't see you finishing it very quickly, but it's not going to be the longest of the Final Fantasy games. It's also currently on PS5. It's got an exclusive for the PS5 for a year, and then it will be ported to PC. Unfortunately, Square Enix's ports to PC are normally not very good, which is crazy because they build them on PC and then So if you have a PS5, this is great. Is this one to buy a PS5 console with? I don't know, but there's enough exclusive games now on PS5 to warrant getting a PS5. I would say that sometimes you have to leave those consoles to work out all the kinks and the bugs and then wait for the decent batch of games. I think there's enough out there now. So if you're looking for a new game to pick up, this is definitely one.
Nice. Nice. Cool.
Have you got anything else, Chris?
I have one more.
All right.
Really quickly.
I'm going to take a munch of my burger.
Okay. I don't think this is going to be on your list. Actually, I'm pretty sure it probably isn't. But it's they cloned Tyrone. Ruben's face of disappointment and disbelief there. I I hadn't seen a trailer going in. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that it was John Boyega, Jamie Foxx, and Teyonah Parris. And those three alone, I was like, okay, cool, I'm there. Like, they are all really great and engaging. The movie's weird. I mean, it's an odd mix because it's kind of time out of space, because some of the technology and everything feels now, but a lot of the visuals and the aesthetics are like late 70s, early 80s. You know, it's the filming itself. I mean, there is a ton of film grain on this, and I don't know if they shot it on digital and just added the grain, or if they shot on film and that's just the natural, you know, result of that. I liked the aesthetic of that because it made it feel older also. And so by seeing all these visuals that are, you know, reminding me, I mean, TVs, you know, big CRTs, and Jamie Foxx is wearing like this. I mean, he's a pimp, so he's pimped out, but right. Yeah. And so it's the whole thing. It was just, but it's a sci-fi mystery, action spy movie.
I should say I was in a mood, and I've only seen 15 minutes of it. So
okay. So, I'm going to invite you to go back to it because the dialogue is brilliant. I was in love with the social commentary. So this has been a very social commentary heavy week for me.
It has, hasn't it?
But I was loving it because it's the cast is predominantly black, and so it's speaking to that audience, but it's also drawing upon stereotypes and then using that as an attack.
But you got a lot out of it as well, right? So it's just because it's a black cast doesn't mean that you're not going to relate to it.
Oh, no. I thought it was brilliant. And it's not attacking white people. That's the thing. I don't want, you know, people have weird things, weird misconceptions.
Black cast, that means they hate white people. Like, what?
Yeah. And even with the social commentary, but it is very relevant, and it's talking about some of the things that the U.S. government has done to these people. And then it's taken it to maybe a small absurdity, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not really comfortable calling it absurd, because that means that it discounts everything that they're experiencing and all of the, you know, the stuff that's going on within the plot. It's just, you could see it happening. Like, I would not, while I don't know if the level of what they have done. No, I'm going to say we have the opioid crisis and the influx of, you know, drugs into poor and underserved
that's what it is.
Neighborhoods and segments of city. Yeah, exactly. So this is not even out of the realm of possibility. It is funny. The dialogue is quick. It is smart. It is back and forth. John Boyega, pretty quiet in this. I mean, he's more emotive. He's more, it's more of a dramatic role for him, and which I loved. I mean, he was, he was, well, one of the three, and he's a standout, and it's just, I mean, it's great. Jamie Foxx is hilarious because Jamie Foxx is like ADHD riddled, drunk fiend, but who's very smart too. But also, I mean, he's street smart and he's a little dumb, which I know that all contradicts itself. Yeah, but it's his character works because he's kind of all over the place. He's a little bit frenetic, and that works. Teyonah Parris is like, she's a separate character as well. Like, she is very intelligent, and because she has read a lot of things and she has all of these aspirations that transcend her surroundings, you know, that gives her a differing viewpoint to work within this mystery that's going on in the drama. Yes.
I have a question, sir.
Yes.
Do you care about the characters?
Absolutely.
Oh, you do?
Like,
okay, great.
At the beginning, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
That's where I was at.
Yeah.
I don't. So first off, I didn't know where the story was going. I didn't know what was actually. I mean, like I didn't understand the plot. Okay, because we're just thrust into this world and we're watching actions take place and people do things. as the story goes along and we learn more, not only about the nuances of the plot, but then we get interactions with the characters. Like there are some moments where you're like, oh, there's a scene where we've seen some horrifying things, and then it's put into action, and it is like, whoa, wait a minute here. And the emotion that's carried through all of the actors in this, I mean, you just like, we were already tense up here, and then like it ratchets it way up to the top, and it's wonderfully done. I loved it. There's a twist at the end, or at least a surprise I did not see coming. Parts of this I was able to predict. Like you can kind of figure out some of the story arc and everything else, and so you're like, oh, well, that's this, and it's like, oh, okay, and that it doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't ruin it, especially because there's a surprise towards the end. You're like, whoa, did not see that coming. And so it wraps in social commentary with some really great humor, smart, witty dialogue, performances that are top notch. I said in my review that it makes watching this, especially John Boyega, makes me want to go watch Attack the Block again, because I love him in that, and which they're totally different movies. But anyway, this is on Netflix. I understand that it's not going to be for everybody. I think, though, if you give it a chance and you go into it with that open mind, that
you don't normally like American films, so this for me gives me high hope, like, because I would be the one that more drawn into that. So the fact that you liked it means that, okay, this might be right up my street, and it's got that science fiction fantasy element to it. So
it does, and it's and they use that in some unexpected ways. Not massive unexpected ways, just small subtle things here and there, and you're like, oh, that.
Would
ouch.
you, if you had the opportunity, would you ever clone yourself?
No.
No?
No.
Why?
No. Because one life is enough.
I would.
Would you?
Yeah. Thinner me, healthier me. I need.
But no, you're cloning parts. You. It's you as you are.
I would use the body parts and then get rid of the other guy.
Okay, yeah. So if I could mold myself into Ken, then sure. That's a lot of work, though, to maintain that body style. Yeah, I don't want that either. I just don't want to be fat anymore.
I'm happy with being a dad bod, but yeah, not fat would be great.
Yeah. What's I going to say?
As I eat my burgers. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually watched it twice this week. So that gives you an idea. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Like there were parts in it that I was like, oh, dude, that was really funny. I want to watch this again. And so I did, because yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. Okay.
Let me change my battery.
Okay.
I was out at the cinema all day today, so I had my jeans tied really tightly. Because I don't want them to fall down, and they're like just a weird cut. So when I got to sit in my chair, I untightened them, and just now when I was walking back, they were like slipping. We almost had a unscheduled nudity
wardrobe malfunction.
Malfunction. Hi,
well,
guys.
We're far enough in the video that it's not going to get demonetized like that. So it's okay. Right. Go for it. If you need to drop trout.
What my boxes look like. Gosh.
Oh.
Okay, so we've come to that part in the segment where we're going over 9,000.
It's over 9,000.
Yes. Cool. All right, hit me.
Cool. Do you remember last week I said I started watching what my son said was like one of the saddest, but I hadn't got there. I'd only watched 2 episodes, and I thought, well, it's just a cute. So far, it's really cute and really interesting premise. You dive down into the holes, you're divers, and you can go different depths, and there's different things and creatures, and they've made the society around this big hole. All right, so that was last week. This week, I've watched the entire season 1. I've watched the movie that comes in between, which is the 3rd movie for all of those that you want to know, because the first 2 movies are like recaps. Okay. And so after the 3rd movie, you watch the 2nd season, which I've also watched. So that gives you an idea of how good the story is. But this is not for kids. Made in Abyss.
is. Okay. Yeah.
This is not for kids. I would say it's not even for teenagers that are maybe down in the dumps. This will stay with you for a while. It'll get you thinking. And there's stuff and themes here that are really dark. There's cannibalisms. There is oh my gosh, right? And this is an anime and it's like dealing with, when you look at them, they're like, but these young kids, the themes that they have to go through, from slavery to cannibalism to assault repeatedly, they're themes that they tackle in here that are dark. It's a dark anime. And then you get what the story is about, like why they're going deep. And I was thinking of ways to explain why it's so good. What is this story? So there's a curse that makes this, the deeper you go, the stronger the curse gets. But the way to explain the curse, it's very tangible. It's a real thing. They just call it the curse. The best way to describe what this anime is imagine that the water, imagine the hole's filled with the ocean.
Okay.
And the bends are what the curse is. So the deeper you go, the more pressure you feel. So each segment, they have different colored whistles, I mentioned last week, for where you're allowed to go. And there's a certain colored whistle that if you go below a different depth, nobody will come and get you because it's too dangerous. There's a point of no return where at a certain depth you go, it's too deep. One of the things they have as a mechanic is if you go up quickly, like you're walking upstairs, you will start to deform and your nose will bleed and you'll turn into like a blob or disintegrate. Like the bends are so powerful. That's the curse. So you start going up and you die.
Ooh.
There are a few that know how to circumnavigate or can see the layers of the curse. So this is where the story starts to get really intricate. So the first season is 12 episodes. The last episodes are like an hour long. And the second season does that again as well. Like they're 22 minutes and then you have to... And then at each episode, they're kind of gathering another member of their team. But the people that you've come to love along the way, a lot of them won't be around. The sacrifices they have to make physically and mentally, it's harrowing. But there's the story of the young girl that's gotten a letter from her mom who's at the bottom. And she says, come find me. It's just like, well, okay, my mom's down there. How is it possible that this lady even got up to the top?
Yeah.
You learn more about like the young boy that's with her is, I mentioned last week, he's kind of human, but also not. He has like robotic arms that stretch out and swing.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a beam on his hand, like basically her protector. But there's something about him that kind of connects to the whole story, which is why he's along for the ride. But at the end of season 1, you might want to give yourself a break and go and watch something light before you hit the film. Because the film feels like it's so well done. It's big. It's like a film that you want to watch at the cinema. Like one of those anime films that you just love.
Yeah.
But it's also dark. Like they don't let up in their darkness. And it's not sad, but it's dark. Like the themes that they're dealing with, without going into spoilers, they're themes that you just don't expect, and it treats you like you're smart. So then when you're realizing what it actually means for our characters, what they've actually had to go through, sometimes they subtly suggest, and then you realize, oh, that's what this young girl has gone through the whole time before she's even met us. That's why she's acting like this. There's a lot of redemption story arcs, but the animation is beautiful. Like it's really great. So you're enjoying what you're watching. You're loving the storylines and the arc about what is this weird, mysterious place. And the deeper we go, the weirder creatures, smarter, intelligent, stronger, that have seemingly like more powers. Like they have almost superhuman abilities, because the deeper you go, the weirder and the more mysterious it gets. But then it's the real human storylines, which often is the darkest parts, like what humans can get up to, the greed that comes along with some of the treasures that they find down there, and who wants to control these creatures, and slavery. All of that kind of nastiness is now shoved into a hole with this type of curse. So very, very good. Like in my top 5, but oh boy, is it heavy.
Like you're going to need a while before you ever rewatch it again.
Yes. for sure.
Okay.
Probably 3 years, because that's probably when we'll get the next season.
Oh, wow. So do you think you will revisit the entire thing before diving into that next season, or will you?
No. Like,
too much?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know if I could put myself through that again. The next anime on my list is, again, last week, I'm trying to remember his name. The guy that mentioned, was it Paul Nolan? I think it's Paul Nolan. I think
so, yeah.
Yeah, he suggested an anime, and I talked about that one, and he's been wanting me to watch this one that's on Disney in the UK for Stars. I don't know if it's on Hulu, but it's called Tengoku daimakyô, which is also known as what's the English name for that? Anyway, on Disney it's still Tengoku daimakyô. A boy grows up behind the safe walls of an apocalyptic Japan full of monsters. Tokyo flourishes as a paradise, while outside the walls of hell, dangers lurk.
Heavenly Delusion.
That's the one.
Is the English.
Heavenly Delusion. So, this was hard for me to understand what the hell was going on with this anime. At one stage, you have two protagonists. Stuff happens to them at the beginning without spoilers, and they get entangled. Two young protagonists. They are on the outside in the world that's like a post-apocalyptic Japan, and everybody's like going into skyscrapers trying to get food. There are also weird monsters that I would say reminds me a little bit of our Starship Troopers monsters. You know, those kind of crawlers. You remember Starship Troopers? But they're mechanical. Yeah. So like that, but mechanical.
Oh, okay.
Sort of. Maybe hybrid monster. And you have a young boy who can fight really well. You have a young woman who's asked this young boy to be the bodyguard so she can go and find two people that she's missing, that she loves. At the same time, this young boy feels called to go to a place they call heaven. Nobody knows about it. But as an audience, we know about another place that we're shown where young kids are being raised in what seemingly is like the perfect paradise place. They are smart, strong, some have extra abilities. They're being raised for what we don't know. We do find out by the end of the anime, and there's 12 episodes. It does finish on a massive cliffhanger. So there's a bit of an arc that is completed, but they leave us. And there still hasn't been like a word on whether we're getting the second season. However, it was, again, very dark. There was stuff that I wasn't expecting to see in this anime, like creatures will eat human beings in the nastiest way. Ooh. Again, humans just being sucky towards each other. But the fighting sequences are great. It's what happens to the kids. It's their relationships that we are shown and how that kind of connects to our other two main protagonists that makes this really different. You're trying to figure out the whole time which timeline this is in. Like, do they connect to each other, or is this showing different timelines? And I think that's on purpose because they want to try and keep these two storylines separate. They are like going in and out, and you know when you're watching one because one's about the kids and one's about the outside in Japan trying to survive that world. But by the end, you're trying to figure out how the worlds connect. You still don't really know. Like, our characters don't really intersect, but you understand where it's going. It's on Disney in the UK.
I think I'm logging into Hulu right now because I think it's on Hulu. Yep, it's on Hulu in the US. So.
Okay. While you're on Hulu, can you check if there is an anime called Synduality? So SYN and duality.
Synduality Noir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, it's on here.
Cool. Okay, so that's
episodes.
2 episodes just been released, come out on Disney here in the UK, Hulu there. This was really interesting. I didn't expect this to be as fun as it was. It's mechs, so it's been a while since humans are protecting themselves from, again, little Starship Trooper creatures. They're in these little bubbles and they fend off themselves, and there's a world of different tiered protectors, and if you're one of those, you probably get a mech to fight in. What I loved about this mech was the color they use. Super like graffiti. It feels like a mix between like wanting to be Blade Runner-ish, but they kind of leaning into the Spider-Man spray, spray painting, that kind of graffiti, a little bit punk, and the music kind of talked about that as well. It was a character, the music, I thought. So it has a lot of vibrance and bouncy, and I breathed a sigh of relief because it's not often that we get one. I mean, it's a little bit dark, but much lighter than the others I've seen. And sometimes you just need those. This was fun, action, you know who you're rooting for, a different take on the looks of mechs, full of bright color, and animated really well. So this is a new one that most people probably wouldn't have heard of, Synduality Noir. This is going to be interesting. There's a movie coming out, I think it's next week or the week after, on Netflix, called Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead.
Yes.
I'm currently watching the new anime that is out called Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. It's on Crunchyroll. I've watched the first three episodes, and they're excellent. I love the story, but I was so interested that it's coming out so soon. The movie's coming out so soon on Netflix. And I'm wondering how much they're going to keep of the story, considering it's a movie and not a series. Because there's going to be like 12, 13 episodes for the first season based on this manga. At the same time, Netflix are also releasing a live-action zombie, which is also similar. Like I don't know what they're doing with that.
That one's a reality show, I think, though.
Reality.
Yeah.
But have you seen the sets that they've done for that? It's a big deal. It's big.
Okay.
Yeah. And looks more real than most of the other reality ones. Anyway, so there's a movie, for those that don't watch anime, but it's based off the anime that I'm currently watching. And dude, I was just like, this is such a great take on the zombie. So you have a young man who was so excited to get his new job, but it turns out it's one of these companies that works you to death. You sometimes work there for 3 days, no sleep, and he's just like he goes in with like this, I'm going to be a great part of the team, and then months later you just see his place is wrecked. He hasn't showered, bathed, he barely eats, he's just working. The bags are like super black, and he's like contemplating every time he has to go to work. It's like, can I just die? So when the zombie apocalypse hits, it is the best day ever. He is so happy. Like, dude is partying. He has this list of things, the bucket list of things that he wants to do.
100 things you must do to not become a zombie.
Exactly. And that's the premise. And I just was like, this is genius. This is really fun. Yeah. But like stupid things, he still wants to go skydiving. I'm like, how are you going to? So it gets really real sometimes, but he kind of just is this like happy-go-lucky kid. Others aren't like him, but he's just like, you guys haven't lived my life. Like, this is the best. This is awesome. So like within a day, he's cleaned up his apartment. He's got a whole plan. He looks so much better, healthier. Doesn't really have that much issue like dodging zombies and stuff. So it's early days yet, but I'm loving it. It's really, really good.
It's on Hulu in the US as well.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
I was looking at some of the animation on IMDb. There's a trailer or a teaser that's playing, and whoa, it looks like awesome.
It's great. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's really good.
Nice.
So I'm hoping that I would have watched most of that before the movie comes out. I'm really torn because I know I'm going to review the movie on Netflix. Mm-hmm. But watching the anime, like, don't ruin. Please be good. Please be good, movie.
When it's really surprising that they're coming out so close together.
Right?
Like that, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that is anime for this week.
Okay. That everything you had?
Yeah, that's everything I had. I mean, apart just to mention that Bucky Hammer season 2, or the new season of Buckyhammer is coming out on Netflix this week. So that's like, what other anime should I be looking for? If you're a fan of Buckyhammer, you'll be very happy to know that that new season is out.
Nice.
This week.
All right. Well, hey, we thank you for joining us. We hope you had fun. Let us know some of the best things that you watched this week in the comments below. Also, like, share, subscribe. Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday on YouTube. Me, Chris, Movies and Munchies. Don't forget about our Patreon opportunity. Patreon.com/thebeardedones, because we both have beards.
We do.
£1 is the entry in there. We also have a couple that are outside the paywall so that you can even just see what we get up to. But over 60 videos. This week we're adding 1 or 2 more. One of them is going to be, we're discussing season 1 of Good Omens on Prime before season 2 comes out. And that was because Sage Hoffman thought, hey, you know what? This might be a good thing. So we going to dive into that. So that's awesome. So one of those tiers you get to, actually a couple of the tiers you get to suggest and request different things for us to watch. But yeah, just head over there. The description is on the screen and in the the link. The link is in the description below and on the screen, not the description, because what is that? I don't even, how do you describe it's a lot of letters with a couple of symbols in there. And then anyway,
Nice.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. We have an extended audio version for a podcast. So you can check us out wherever you happen to listen to podcasts. If you do, rate and review us there, please. This week, we are, like every week, we're talking about something that didn't make our list, which I might go on a rant. And then we watched a movie that I hadn't seen for quite a while. I don't think you had seen actually for quite a while, except you watched it last week because you needed a palate cleanser.
I did.
And so it's going to be fun. Plus, we hit up some entertainment news and things that are coming up in the following week, which there's a crap ton to come just to streaming in theaters. So it'll be a great time. So head over there. We'll link it in the description as well. With that, though, hey, we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Take care.